guess that was the moment. I was going to go peek at something else, but time just flies by. This is grand. This is wonderful. Oh, yes. When another rectangle comes up on my screen, my hands go up like this, as if I just rolled the dice and got the perfect score for my
Hi,
next
Christine.
move. Hi, Richard. Yay!
Hey, Jack, how are
I'm so
you?
grateful.
I'm doing okay. It's good to see you, Richard, and
Nice to
I'm
see
looking
you.
forward to how this conversation goes. I think we're live
Yeah.
now, Krista.
In those first minutes, when I first popped in with Richard and Lori, Jack, everything was perfect, but Jack, for some reason, it's just doing that little stop and go. So when you keep talking and we smile and nod, you might have to repeat what you said because we didn't hear it. But Richard, Jack, are you just being nice to each other? Or have you already crossed paths?
We've crossed paths.
Wonderful. And Lori and I have crossed paths because she was in this. Hey, Cherry and Jacob. Woo! Oh my goodness. He is attending one of those fabulous conferences. I think that all the organizations are going, remember all those conferences we didn't have? Let's have them all right now in 2023. Every time I see something posted, people are headed to, coming out of, or right in the middle, and there's a lot of excitement going on at these. So Julie and I, Julie, oh my goodness, how many times am I going to say Julie? I knew a Julie Miller in college, and for some reason, that's back in here. Lori and I crossed paths last week with another Lori LeMasters, that the two of them, had the opportunity to meet each other. And it's my opportunity to meet each one of you on screen. Say again. Jack, was that you?
It sounded like my voice, but it wasn't me. I was messing with my Wi-Fi because we get our Wi-Fi from the CCRC provider, and so it's not the best. And I was trying to optimize it.
Oh, yes. Yes. I'm just going to admit right now, Lori, Richard, Jack, I'm only about 2 years into using tech, and I will still forget to even scroll, like just scroll up, scroll down. I'm supposed to see something on my screen. I don't know what it is, and it has escaped my knowledge. So anything that you described today, if I've already mastered it, I'm probably going to lose it again in the next few weeks. So I'll be glad of the reminder. So, you know what, Richard? You just came in, and I have it strategically to my left, that you do tech enhanced life, and you have longevity explorers. And I started using the phrase persons of longevity because I attended a group that included Michael Ublowski. And at the end of this private little Zoom group, someone said, what's the right thing we're supposed to say? Are we supposed to say seniors? I don't think we're supposed to say old, but I guess older's okay. And this little discussion went back and forth. And I said, persons of longevity. And it was like, oh, that's different. And you have longevity explorers. Richard, I know next to nothing about what it is that you've done, but I know that you have been, and you probably still are, a scientist.
I was educated as a scientist. I'm not sure you ever stopped being one inside. That's right.
What came first, tech enhanced life or the longevity explorers?
Would you like a sort of little introduction? Is that what you'd like?
I need to, I feel like I need to know what this is about that you're doing. So yeah, just tell me what it is, because it sounds like you made a pivot in your life for this, from what you were doing to what you are doing or putting more focus on now.
Well, I don't know that that's right, but let me introduce you to Tech
Oh,
Enhanced Life. First of all,
good.
for anyone who's watching, there's a website, which is techenhancedlife.com, where we've gone to a lot of trouble to try and explain what we're doing and things. So that's probably a better source than me, but I'll just give the little overview. Tech Enhanced Life is a social venture, which means we're a sort of a cross between a nonprofit and a regular company. And our mission is improving the quality of life of older adults and their families and caregivers. And the way we do that is has changed a bit over the years, but we have several initiatives. We've helped to enable a community of individuals who call themselves the longevity explorers, who are older adults, mostly in their 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, a few in their hundreds, who are kind of interested in exploring the intersection of aging and technology as a sort of a club. So they meet regularly and they try out new products and write what they discover on Tech Enhanced Life. And then Tech Enhanced Life is a sort of publishing vehicle where we publish people's experiences trying to solve specific challenges relating to getting older, often using gadgets, but not always. And then our third thing we sometimes do, which is kind of a bit less lower down in what we care about, but which we do. We started quite a few years ago to get approached by companies that were interested in developing new products and wanted some help understanding what older adults would actually be interested in and find useful. And so we sometimes do little consulting projects with companies where we help them listen to our community of longevity explorers about what they really care about and whether some particular prototype is going to be useful or not. That's my intro.
That's a great intro. I feel like I have 3 pictures in my mind, and it's as if you are singing harmony to the same song as Cindy and Christine Hardenweiss. They have products, not necessarily technology, but they are given or sent, or they purchase products and try it out and, kind of leave a video recommendation of, that particular kind of tool or this particular bit of innovation. I've even seen them try out some edible products that help with hydration and help to increase maybe the desire to drink water. There's just, and what you're doing is you're going to the source and saying, how did that work out for you? And I don't know, I'm going to give this a try. There's another Richard Iowati, and he's the gadget man. And he always takes what he calls a cross section of the UK. So he has 3 or 4 people who try out some of the gadgets and give their, we're all in agreement that this one is thumbs up. And it can be technology. Again, it can be something that is just very physical and seems to check all the boxes of, ease of use or learning how to do it, or I just enjoy it, or I think my life will be better if I walk out in the morning and see this on the kitchen counter, whatever it is. So I'm fascinated by that, because just before we went live, and by the way, Steve Berger, he put in a comment And that was pretty encouraging to me. Using my technology, I go over to the comments and there he is. Oh, this is just so wonderful to know that, I find out afterwards that people were watching, but they just didn't pop in a comment. And for the first time, I'm going to say, if you want to pop in a link to what you do, especially if it is enhancing to life because of technology, you can go right ahead and do that as well. And you can also make a comment. Let us know where you're at. Cherian is attending an Aging 2023 conference. So he popped in to say hi, which was great. He has been a guest here on Aspects of Aging before. And Lori, I'm gonna swirl around to you, and for the first time, I've only done this since August. Every Wednesday, haven't missed a Wednesday because I just can't, because I'm such an aging enthusiast. But for the first time, I said, "Can you come back again next week?" And you were able to, and I am so grateful for that. So,
Thank you.
ooh, wonderful. Ah, all righty. There is a quote. There is a quote from Jack. And my husband, D. Scott Smith, motivational listener, is the one who got me started even touching technology. I texted on my phone because we have adult children. They were teenagers when I started. And I had to ask them, do I have a smartphone? Is that what I have? Oh, Mom. And I would do emailing. And he motivated me toward bringing what I thought was important farther than my voice could reach in a room. And I am so grateful to him. And he also does all these background things to make sure that this even happens. So, Julie, I invited you to come back for a reason. Yes? Oh, I think.
Okay, to get on topic, Kristen, what is technology? Okay, I don't want to embarrass you by asking your age, but what technology most enhances your life? So we can get back to talking about technology that can really help people aging.
Yeah. The technology that most enhances my life is happening right now. And I would add LinkedIn. I really appreciate the people, their information on LinkedIn. It's what I wished I had when I was in my 50s and I was an in-home caregiver. By the end of those years, I counted nearly 100 different private residences. Some of them were in senior living communities, and some were just down the street, round the corner. And so when I would be asked about things, is there a better way? Is there somehow that we could create more safety? Have you dealt with such and such? I wished that I had had what was already invented, innovated, written, available on Amazon. I wished I already had those resources at my fingertips so that I could have been more helpful, not only to my individuals, generally 70 through hundreds, but also to their loved ones, their neighbors, their spouses who ranged in age, all ages, saying, is there something that helps with this? Or, I guess this is the best we could find because we didn't know what to click on or even what words to put into search engine optimization. So I love what I have now, and I wish I could go back. The technology that would help me the most would be to go back in time and be able to hand these resources to everyone.
So the thing that helps you the most is having your own streaming show on LinkedIn. Am I understanding that that's what's been most meaningful for you?
I
personally?
feel like I'm collecting information for people in the future, including caregivers, hired caregivers, to be able to come to the Aging Better Network resource website and be able to go, oh, that's what they need, that they could actually listen. A lot of people love to listen to podcasts, just like listening to the radio was kind of a natural, almost everyday thing for me in decades gone by. They love listening to those and going, oh, what did they say? What was that contact information? But they can actually replay it. It's not just on the radio.
So
And
is it
so I'm collecting these for the future me.
okay? So as a caregiver, how valuable would it be for advice that would allow you to do a two-person transfer and my
And
Wi-Fi
Jack,
completely and automated?
for some reason,
Go ahead.
the that glitch thing is happening again. I did catch two-person transfer, and I know exactly what you're talking
Yeah, I
about
often
when you say, yeah. And we're not able to hear you. I'm gonna pull over to Julie for a few moments, and we'll see
Laurie.
Oh my goodness. Well, yay, I'm in my 60s. I keep crisscrossing people. Lori, keep saying your name. Oh my goodness. Well, Lori Miller, you said something about tech last week, and we also talked about something coming up in April. So take it away for a few moments and I'll get back to Jack. Sorry, Jack.
Okay. Well, first, thank you very much for having me on again. And I do want to mention, Richard was talking about the longevity explorers, and I had mentioned to Jack earlier that I'm actually out of town. We're visiting my 101.5-year-old aunt. So
Excellent.
she's great. And I think something about tech with her, she's not afraid of it. Like, she has a computer and she'll get online. I had my tablet and I was showing her some pictures of my son and daughter-in-law's wedding, and she was just scrolling right along with me. And how you sometimes blow a picture up and then you touch it and it goes back to the beginning. She was fine and just great. I think she's just never been afraid of anything and is great just jumping in. So that's one thing I think is so important about, as Richard said, longevity explorers, is they're not afraid of it and they accept it. So that's one wonderful thing about older adults, or what term we want to use. But what I had mentioned before is I just started a website called Age Tech Now, which it's kind of I guess maybe a precursor to Richard, in the sense that I was finding, I own a home care agency as well. And I would be looking for solutions. And maybe this is what Jack was talking about, kind of looking at solutions on how we can help our clients and just improve, kind of what you said too, Christine, just improve quality of life. And every time I would hear of a product or hear of a service in our industry, maybe someone just was awarded grant money, or they just won, a new prize, because all of the aging conferences have a lot of award money attached to them. I'd go and look for this product and it wouldn't be available yet. And it'd be very frustrating. And I mean, I'm hearing lots of money being given to companies, and the product is not ultimately available to the consumer. So I kind of went out and tried to I'm creating a list now. We have about 20 plus companies on there so far, of items that are actually products, services, or apps, technology that's actually available to the consumer now. And that's a big deal, because so much is not available. Or even now I'm looking at it, they have full functionality of their website, and I go to click like buy now, and it says get on the waiting list. So I've probably looked at a couple of hundred different products, websites, And so many are not available. So that was one thing I wanted, whether it was the professional caregiver who could go to a site, and I'm not vetting all the companies like Richard doing, which is so important, but just being able to offer these solutions. Because I think so many people, like you said, Christine, you don't know how to search for something if you don't know it's available. Like, how do you know what the answer is if you don't even know? So, so that's kind of the point of what age tech now is just, it's going to be a kind of a gathering place for people to find solutions they don't know existed. And I don't know if y'all know that this is a really cool thing. It's part of another company. I'm not going to say any of the company's names, but did you know that they have a scale, a smart tech scale, I guess, where not only do you stand on, it gives you the weight, very, very mundane for a scale to do, but you can stand on it with bare feet and it'll give you your hydration level, which is a small thing, but huge, because how many people, we've had so many clients get hospitalized unnecessarily because they've been dehydrated. And that's huge. I mean, that's available in your home right now. And I would never have even thought to even look for something like that. No. So, and so it's things like that I think can help somebody. But I think we also have to be so careful. And this is what's great about what Richard's doing, is someone could have a great product, a great idea, but if it's not usable or if it's not easy enough for everyone to see, it doesn't matter. If you can't use it, if it's too complicated, it just doesn't matter if the older adult can't use it. And it was funny. I was talking, to me, this hydration scale is so great, but it's not just for older adults. I think it's for anybody, because everybody wants to know what their hydration level is. And I think some of these aging tech products are more universal design in nature. If it's good for an older adult, it's good for a younger adult. Most of these things. Like I personally, I have my Fitbit, and I wear it at night to see my sleep and all that kind of stuff. And they have new products now that you can put a mat or a electronic mat under your bed to see tossing and turning. And they're marketing it to an older adult to check their sleep habits. But any adult would be interested to know if their sleep. So I think that's a interesting take on just older adult products. I think they're just for all ages, for all adults. And I think that could kind of change the way people utilize technology.
It's, if I can say it this way, aging, in my opinion and some opinions, the whole idea of longevity, it's partly fear-based. It's how many people and how much older, and oh my goodness, they're going to need all this stuff. We better create all these things. And part of it is, hey, I have a possibility of living to be the same age as Lori's auntie that she's visiting right now. Wow, I don't want to get bored, or I don't want to focus on maybe my medical needs or whatever. So I'm going to be proactive to find these things and to innovate them. And somehow when something becomes very important, maybe urgent, what happens trickles down to everyone else. And, I used to be a classroom teacher, and it's so fun to tell your students, hey, a little background on this. You have this right here in the classroom, or you have this at home because there was a war and they needed such and such, because there was a national race to the moon. And so these things were created with astronauts in mind. And it's exciting to know that things are being created with the thought of, what about my 70s or my 80s or beyond? And then it's like, wait a minute, this is actually being helpful to a parent of a child and the child just isn't drinking enough water. They don't like it. They don't want to, or they've whatever the situation. And so they're able to assess, are they not feeling well, because of this? That's a new one for me, Lori. That's a new one.
Well, I'll tell you one
You
other
were going to
thing.
say balance. I thought you were going to say
Well-
balance, but you said hydration.
Well, I think another interesting thing is some of these young entrepreneurs are these kids who are looking at solutions for their grandparents, because so many they know, like maybe in our age, we don't know something exists. Like we don't know maybe in the engineering world that this can be done. Like you said, the astronauts have done a lot. But so some of these young kids, and I say young kids, but like in their 30s, 20s and 30s, are seeing issues with their grandparents and thinking, I can solve that. And they are, but then they need people like Jack and people like Richard to fine tune that maybe the writing on something has to be a little larger font, or maybe the sound has to be a little louder, or just some natural, normal aging things that maybe they don't know. But they're coming up with some great, I mean, I'm just overwhelmed with excitement on some of these great products that are out there now that I not only did I not know they were available, I had no idea they could be available, that we can do some of this stuff.
But I come at it from a different perspective. Can you hear me now? Okay,
Perfect.
Okay. I apologize that this Wi-Fi sucks. But anyway, my interest is to find the needs and get them developed. So Japan, they can do a 2-person transfer with 1 person. Why don't we use that in the United States? Why aren't our software people developing? And too often we've sort of got Silicon Valley fever. So people think if I do a minor application and I call it brain enhancement or whatever, and then I sell it, I'll become an instant millionaire. And that's just nonsense. But if you solve the real problem, think of the activities of daily living that are the necessary activities, like toileting. Toileting can be addressed. Just redesign the damn bathroom, and you can automate it. There are all these things that are crying out to be done, but you have to prove the economics and the market. It isn't just.
I think we're getting there, Jack. I think we're there. I think the numbers of older adults are such that, you always say follow the money. I think we're there. I think the population is aging. There's enough people now in the population that are needing this, that follows the money, that it can be a business plan. And for whatever reason, that's good. But people are working on all of that stuff now, because
you do have to prove it. I mean, so you have to make that use case. I think we're going to have less human, but people are not going to be working 40-hour weeks for much longer, because that becomes an impediment to the advance of technology. I remember when people wanted to have a teller when they went to the bank, and now we have a robot that serves us at the bank. But because we've gotten used to it, we don't call it a robot. And there's no place where this is called for more than in things that allow people to maintain their independence longer into old age, and without having to become second-class citizens. Because the thing that really motivated me to get started in my old age was the fact that when I moved to a senior living community, they viewed me as a second-class citizen, and I lost my self-worth. And so I've fought for the last 16 years to try to change that. And so when I hear, I take care of these helpless people, don't make us pathetic. We're not pathetic. We just are 100 years old, but we still want to make a difference, and we still vote.
Jack, I wish you had met her. I was working under the umbrella of a company. I was loving my new situation. I was part marketer and part activities of daily living assistant. So all these things were happening, and I came in to assist my person, 96. She said, "What's wrong?" She said, "Do old people make you sad?" And I looked at her and I laughed. I said, "Do old people make you sad?" You know, my 96-year-old friend. And she goes, "What's going on?" I said, "I just found out the company closed. I have to stop. I'm, she goes, "You know, I'm a businesswoman." She didn't say was. And that gave me even more confidence. She goes, "You know, I'm a businesswoman." She said, "Let's work together and you're going to build up your own clientele. And this is how we're going to do it." And she's mapping it out while I'm serving. And I did. And I did get to the point where just me, just a person, little face, had more than I could handle. I was looking for other people. I literally said, "Maybe so and so, or would you be willing to do this?" And you know, I am so glad that she said that to me, and she steered me right. And she was first class, and so are you. And I think today, the three of you, you seem to be, you know, just like the stair steps going up this beautiful spiral staircase in what you provide and what you place before others, and what you, Richard, I feel like you said you had a third thing that maybe isn't your biggest push, but it's important enough, and you've integrated that as well. So you've been very politely listening. What thoughts are you bursting to talk about? And please tell me if you've already heard of the bathroom scale that also assesses your hydration level.
I think there's lots of potentially interesting products, actually. I don't know if we want to single them out particularly, but I haven't got any burning thoughts I was wanting to share, but I'm happy to talk about any topics you'd like to frame.
I was afraid, really scared. I mean, here's my husband going, "You are saying these resources need to be more accessible." I had no idea that all these people existed that had the same thought that I did. Not a clue. And so first he says, "We'll try this." And oh my goodness, I'm going to do it wrong. Or what if I click on something? And I have. Cherry and Jacob can tell you, I clicked on the wrong thing on my phone, and I ended up in a Clubhouse private room with him. And he says, "It's okay. I'll tell you what to do to get back to the one that you wanted to be at." And I'm just like, I'm touching the wrong thing. And then here's Lori saying that her aunt just naturally, she's not afraid. So is it that I really think that something's going to melt, blow up, start smoking, I'm going to ruin something forever and lose my bank account? Or is it that I'm afraid that I'm going to look dumb?
Well,
Do you come across that?
Yes, there's a stereotypical story that before they use a product, women read the manual because they're afraid of making a mistake, and men just run right in and make mistakes, and then when they get stumped and can't get out, they finally go look it up in the manual. And that's not completely true. I know women who plunge right in, and I know men who are scared and hold back and actually read the manuals. And some of the manuals used to be quite large. They no longer give you those big. Remember when everything came with a big book? It doesn't anymore. But you're a little wary of most caregivers, and that's what biases this industry against technology. A little afraid of. I've always welcomed technology. I'm an actuary. I always had to deal with huge amounts of data, and I was running a fairly large business, and so I had to have it. I love it. I welcome this stuff, and I can tell me your problem. I'll figure out a solution. My problem is convincing somebody to invest capital in it and do the engineering to get the job done. But you can solve almost any problem, particularly the mechanical tasks that are so common in caring for the people who are failing because of age. So there's so much opportunity there. We just have to unlock it.
Yeah, I think that people are afraid of change also, and maybe they're just afraid to try something new or try something different. And Jack, I have to say, I think women ask for directions way quicker than men do.
That's
Is that the joke about the gas station and asking the direction? Yeah.
But yeah, I think we'd rather, get the directions and get there faster than drive around and try to figure out on our own.
I can
those.
assure you that the navigation system in our car saved my marriage.
I bet.
My husband said that too. He says now that we can just GPS to get there, he said, I just think of it as cheating, and I'm all for cheating. But he says, maps, don't show me a map. I feel my way there.
Yeah. But back, I think those that age well or successfully aren't afraid of change and welcome it or like the challenge of something new. And maybe they've been that way all their life. And it just is an easier thing. I think a lot of people are afraid. I was this way when we first got computers and internet and all that you were going to break something. But once you kind of realize you're not going to break something, you're not going to, blow something up, that it's okay and it's safe and you can make mistakes and that's how you learn. And I think it's getting easier now because it's just part of our everyday life, whether it's using a microwave or using the remote control or whatever it is.
Right.
I think people are comfortable with it or getting more comfortable. I'll tell you what I'm finding a problem. And I'd be interested in Richard and Jack, if you've come across this, is privacy. I have a lot of clients who don't want to do all these sensors and even the hydration scale. It's privacy. They don't want their information out there. And that's a huge deal.
Well, the question for me is, what are you afraid of? I mean, I remember, my mother-in-law, she was all upset that people could come by with a camera and take a picture of her house. Well, how are you going to prevent that? Now Google's made a fine art of it, so anybody can pretty much find your house, but people are still afraid. They think they have something secret, they're going to be in trouble. And if you just are open to not be in trouble, I put in a Ring doorbell, and my neighbor complained. And I think, and then she enlisted the whole neighborhood behind my back to come and tell me that I had to take down the Ring camera. And it turned out what she was going around was telling people that thought I was spying on her. She thought when she took her trash out, I was lusting after her. First place, I have a very happy marriage. Second place, I'm 86 years old. I don't go around lusting after women a whole lot. And finally, when she's in her nightgown taking her trash out, well, to each his taste. So, but she made such a thing out of it, and that's why demagoguery and populism is able to move people. They play to people's fears and their angers, and that hurts the progress of humanity. Technology is a great resource for the future. ChatGPT is a fascinating advance that's making something available to people in a way they can understand. And at the same time, now they've decided it's going to take over the world. So when
I
the
think it's
first,
amazing. I
so
love
when the
it. I think it's
first guy
amazing.
invented a hammer, people objected to the hammer. He said, "But look, I can hammer and nail really fast." And they said, "Yes, but you could bash my head in and use the claw to claw my brains out. We're going to ban all hammers. We cannot have hammers in the world." So,
Jack, is that a true story?
no.
No, but okay. I just had to make sure. But you're giving it as an
But
example.
the fact is that
Okay.
most people are mediocre because mediocrity rules. And so mediocrity prevents advance. And you need a leadership group to lead the advance. And that's what we're here for. Programs like this help unlock that. We need to show people the future. Caregivers are afraid they may lose their jobs. Well, they're going to have a wonderful future doing something else. We'll help them make the transition. But if we can take away the worst parts of that job, aren't we doing a wonderful service to them?
Absolutely. And caregivers will never be extinct. We need more of them. I think having technology will still not enable enough caregivers to go into the profession. So we always need more humans. And I think that's the point, is the technology is not going to replace the human. It'll enhance the human, because we don't have enough to care for everybody. And back to what you said, Jack, about what are people afraid of. I can tell you what this particular gentleman, what he was afraid of. And I feel it was legit in some ways and not in others. This particular information would go to his children. And he's independent, living at home, and he didn't want the information. He didn't feel that anyone needed his information in that regard. And I get that. Because were they going to say, oh, for whatever reason, now we have to move you into assisted living? And I think a lot of people fear that someone's going to say, oh, you can't, we're going to take your independence away now. When it's not that at all. It's to keep them independent and to keep them safe and hopefully prevent a fall, because there's a lot of fall prevention out there. But Jack is right in the fear. People just hear something and fear it, whether it's correct or not.
You know, I think there's some other aspects of all that maybe to build on what you guys were just talking about, because the privacy topic comes up a lot when the longevity explorers are looking at new products. And we found that if you dig past the initial, knee-jerk reactions, you get to a common place often in the discussion, which is that people, you're right, people don't just want random bits of information sold to other people. That's obviously true. The real conversation, though, is what's the benefit to them of this product compared to the privacy infringement? And people, once they understand that, they start to make trade-offs. A lot of these products, the reason no one wants them is there isn't any benefit that the older adult notices in their opinion. And so they say, well, privacy, I don't want my kids to know, blah, blah, blah. But what they're really saying is, I don't see why this is useful to me. So, but I do see some downside, so let's not have it. And I think the framing of that benefit versus privacy stuff is the key conversation. And I think that whole issue you mentioned about the hydration and the kids, that's actually a very recurring theme. Not so much about hydration, but, there's been product after product that have been developed for the adult children to help care for the older adult, and they never get adopted. And the reason is always the same. The older adult actually doesn't see any reason why they want to have things watching them and poking them and sending data about them off to some third party. So, if you unpack that kind of what's in it for each person conversation, it all starts to make sense, I think.
I can see where the longevity explorers would be so helpful, because when I see someone on the screen and I feel or I find a commonality with them, whoever it is, they're advertising on a TV ad or someone comes onto my screen just like today, and I see, I understand, I acknowledge, you said benefit. I understand the benefit of that could cause someone to go, let me revisit that then, because it isn't, I can, I imagine it tipping toward, wow. And then that would be available to me. And then I would be more autonomous. And then my kids would stop calling me and interrogating me, because I know they just want to know if I drank water or if I made it out to the mailbox and back before dark, whatever it might be. So, hey, Joe, I want to say hi to both Ulf and Joe. Aw, there you go. Lori, did you see that? A happy birthday to your auntie.
Yes. And her birthday's actually in August. We just came in for no reason. So thank you. She's 101 and a half. So she'll be 102 in August.
Oh, wonderful. You know what? I actually celebrate that. We actually celebrated the 18-month anniversary of our daughter and her husband, because at the other anniversary, the usual one, didn't work out. So we were like, yes, let's do the half year. And it worked out beautifully. There wasn't a lot of pressure around it. But
But thank you to Joe. That's very thoughtful.
Yeah.
Very thoughtful.
Oh my goodness. Just Longevity Explorers putting a voice to, do they ever express their concerns and the benefits, Richard? Do they express both? Do they do pros, cons, drawbacks, but wow, if I can have this, then it's worth that. You've mentioned microwave. I believe, Lori, using a microwave, it's like, oh, I'm going to hear a beeping sound. It draws electricity. I shouldn't use it to warm up my bread, but this thing I forgot to defrost, this that got cold because we ended up with something we had to take care of urgently. Oh, this is worth it. Let's go get that microwave. So I'm sorry, Richard, you're in your realm.
I think most things in life are about trade-offs. Very little is, unequivocally good or bad. And so, yes, the conversations are mostly about the benefits and the negatives. And what's interesting is a lot of the products we've tried over the years, we've been doing this for about a decade now, don't really have any benefits that the older adults can find. And so that's, that helps you understand why they don't become very successful. But some of them have great benefits, and those special, you mentioned a microwave. We tend to be interested in somewhat more new ideas than a microwave. But a lot of the really interesting new ideas, things like the artificial intelligence stuff that Jack touched on, and voice assistants, and smartphones and smartwatches and all that sort of stuff, there are always some negatives. And then, so it's really a question of teasing out the benefits and the negatives. And then the extra dimension to it is probably, with most of them, the benefits outweigh the negatives for a certain type of person. This idea that everyone over 50 needs the same thing, that's like, I don't know, it's not really even worth discussing that, but that's such an obviously flawed conversation. So a lot of what we do is, when you see a specific product and there do seem to be some benefits, then the next question is, well, what exact life situation would those benefits be useful for? And paint me a picture of the sort of person that would actually find that valuable. So those are the kind of things we like to try and tease out when we're looking at stuff.
And I think the best products come from the person who is solving an actual problem
Totally.
that they incurred.
I agree with you.
They had this problem and I'm fixing it, as opposed to, I think this sounds like a good idea and maybe it'll solve it. And I think another thing that a lot of people don't, and I bet Jack understands this more than anybody, that everybody, when I talk about everyone who's competent, everyone who is competent, everyone has a right to make a bad decision. I mean, if a person wants to not have something that might help them, that's their prerogative. That's their right. I mean, just because you move into a continuing care community, assisted living, independent living, you still have the right to make a poor choice. And if you want to not have some safety feature or a sensor to monitor whatever, as long as you're competent and you can make your own decisions, then, I mean, I have the right to make a bad decision. Everybody does. So just because you are older, that doesn't change that fundamental right. And I think that's
okay. Moving into it does take away some of your right to decide, and that's unfortunate. But that's something people should be aware of. But I was thinking, we have one resident, for example, who moved in who likes to ride a motorcycle. I can't think of anything more self-destructive. And we in our cars now we have airbags all around and everything, and then you go out and ride a motorcycle. Well, maybe that makes sense to some. They say they like the freedom and the air blowing in their face. Now, my grandfather, he wouldn't allow a telephone in his house because he thought people could listen in on him. But then his son, meddling because he wanted to check on Dad, my father, checking on my grandfather. And so he insisted on putting a telephone in, and my grandfather found out about party lines, how you could listen in on the neighbor's call, and he was absolutely convinced that a telephone was a terrible thing. And so if we were going to go to visit him, we had to send a telegram. They used to be delivered by messenger. Those jobs have gone away. Those people have now found new livelihood. And what we do is we begin to have more free time. Now, in 2015, when we first got the Amazon Echoes, Grace Bolton was 103 years old, and she said she didn't want that thing in her room because it would be listening to her. And then I was able to show her that if she just asked I can't say its name, but if she just asked that ladies to get her the Reverend David Jeremiah, she could listen to David Jeremiah. That one thing convinced her. She got that thing in, and then she found out she could tell it that she felt hot or she felt cold. That saved a trip from assisted living people to come in and adjust her temperature, and she was able to have more control in her life. And she died shortly after that. But if you really put these things together for the people you're going to serve, rather than serving yourself and your own self ideas, you can really get them to go like contagion. 70% of our residents now use the Alexa devices, not because of our provider. Our provider was resistant. We did it, and we put that in, and we got the residents doing it. It's the old people themselves who are driving the demand for technology. It's not the people who are caring for them.
That's awesome.
There it is again, Richard. Benefits outweighing the drawbacks.
Absolutely. It was a perfect example of what I was trying to say before. Yeah.
Oh, I
It's
love
always
this.
more eloquent than me.
You have all made me smarter. Lori, how have I done on your name the last 25 minutes?
You've gotten it perfect.
Okay. If I see that other person again somehow, probably on LinkedIn, I'll just have to tell them, But I would just like for you to make an announcement in these last moments, not only how people can get a hold of you, and I'll make sure that Jack and Richard have that opportunity, but also what's coming up in April.
Absolutely. So April 16th is National Healthcare Decisions Day, and it's a great time just to reflect. If you think about it, tax day is the 15th, so death and taxes, perfect to remember that. It's just to reflect on how you want to live at the end of your life and to share your wishes with your family. It's such a gift to let your family and loved ones know how you want to live. And but you have to share that information. And so April 16th is just a great time to either revisit that conversation. Maybe your own circumstances have changed, or maybe you've changed your mind, because again, we have the right to change our mind on this kind of stuff. Or maybe you've never thought about it and never had the conversation. So I urge everyone to think about it and share their wishes on National Healthcare Decisions Day. I have to get hold of me with Age Tech. The new website is agetechnow.com, and you can always get hold of me there, or on LinkedIn. Just search my name, Laurie Miller. I also own Apple Care and Companion, which is my home care agency. So thank you so much for having me on today. And it was so good to meet Jack and Richard. Thank you, guys.
Nice to meet you, Laurie.
I don't know, Richard. Could you tell that I was nervous coming into this one?
No, you seem very calm.
Oh, I just kept thinking somebody's going to ask me a tech question and I'm going to go, ugh, and it's kind of like math for some people. Other people, it's driving. I'm not a good driver. I prefer not to drive. I don't want to do math. I was told there's no math on this test. And technology can be another one of those, oh dear, now my inadequacies are showing. And I really answered my own question, that I'm worried about what other people are going to think. And I was told by another high school friend at a reunion, it's like, don't sweat the small stuff. It's like, oh, that's so freeing. Instead of sweating all these minutia and getting down at the molecular level of what I could do wrong or what someone else could think of me, instead looking at the big picture and going, I got to meet Richard and Laurie again, and Jack, who I've seen so many times in this or that arena. I got to meet you all. Yay. Yay for the electronics and the innovations, for what an opportunity. There's the big picture. I'm meeting people and they're doing something about it. Whatever the problem is or the gap or the pain point, they're doing something about it. It's totally worth it. So Richard, how to get a hold of you or contact information, and any final thought?
Well, first, thanks for inviting me to come along. It's been very fun. In terms of getting in touch with me, our website is at techenhancedlife.com, and you can reach me through that if you want. And also, that's where you can see the explorations that the longevity explorers do of various different products, and we've reviewed quite a few things, stuff like that. So for people who are interested in figuring out what products might be useful in various situations, there's often useful things there.
Is it all one word, Tech Enhanced Life?
Yeah, it is.
One string, no hyphen. Okie doke.
That's right.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
Jack, you're rounding us off. You've always got a grin. I've not seen you scowling or anything. I'm so sorry about the lady in her nightie and her garbage. That's just, and also the Wi-Fi that's just working perfectly now. It really has been working perfectly for quite a while. So, and I'm so grateful because I didn't want to lose what you were saying. So how to get a hold of you? I know active aging.
The word's action aging, but
Action aging. Oh, action aging. I know why I mixed that up. Go ahead.
yeah. But anyway, yes, that will work, and the Wi-Fi, I think, is just Spectrum. We have a company called Spectrum. You all know these companies. They're sort of dinosaurs left over from the 90s, and they provide our services here. And I think a new thing is on the way, but it's raining today, and our internet provider doesn't do well in the rain. So, but since it seldom rains in California, you don't have to do anything. Mañana is coming. Tomorrow we'll be there, and who needs window on such a sunny day? So there you go.
And I'm here in Oregon where rain is something that I actually want because I like how it fills up the river that I can see right out this window. So I am grateful that our little community many years back created their own that would be able to handle the weather. And so far, so great. So good job to the economic developer whose office is just a walk away. I can walk right by him and wave through the window when I'm walking the dog. And he really worked on that because it was tough getting a big provider to come into an area that has a very tiny university, which I love because I actually attended there. And we're surrounded by farm fields and forests, and so they took the bull by the horns too and made that happen. I think he needs a statue in the beautiful park across the street for creating the opportunities for people. And thank you, all three of you. You're immortalized on agingbetternetwork.com/live dash stream dash video forever. So this is your sculpture. This is where you're going to be immortalized. And I thank you very, very much.
Thank you for having us.
Have a wonderful day. Thank you.